Hello, we will start with a small presentation from my side. I would like to welcome all of you, every participant, every speaker. Thank you, DeFINE, for partnering with GeekGoesChic and organizing this event with us. This is the first European event that is actually gathering people from different countries with different backgrounds, and we will discuss the future of fashion and fashion tech in this weird new normal. I will start with introducing myself. Later, our panelists will introduce themselves. Later, Chiara will tell a little bit more about DeFINE project. So, as some of you may know, my name is Kasia Gola, and I'm the founder at GeekGoesChic, where I try to merge fashion with new technologies since 2011. I work with both tech and fashion companies, and I talk a lot. I speak publicly a lot. I also have an honor to run a fashion tech community here in Poland. More than 1,000 people are joining us on meetups and other events. We were collaborating with Google, PayPal, MasterCard, and other great companies. And now we are organizing a first online hackathon devoted to retail and fashion post-COVID, and this hackathon will be powered by Microsoft. If you are interested in great mentoring, you can find more information on Facebook. This event is recorded, so you will have a chance to watch it again on YouTube. I would like to again welcome our great partner, especially that they are preparing mentoring program with amazing mentors. This is free for fashion tech startups. All you have to do is get in. If you are not sure whether this is for you, you can apply for our happy hour where we will discuss more with DeFINE team. And this happy hour will take place on May 21, and you can apply by using this link. Now, when I introduced myself, now let's introduce our great speakers. Thierry, could you introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, and
we cannot
very
hear
happy
you.
You cannot hear me. You cannot hear me?
Hello?
I can.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, I do.
I don't know what's happened. Hello, so good evening, and my name is Thierry Baujard, and I'm French living in Berlin, and I'm heading a private investor network from Berlin about Europe, focusing on the creative industries. So we are looking at audiovisual industry, game industry, music industry, and now more and more the fashion tech industries. So we have a group of private investors from most of the countries in Europe, and we are interested in investing in new innovative projects from Europe, from these different sectors. So I'll be happy to talk to you this evening. Thank you.
Tomasz Czarnecki.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'm Tomasz, and I'm the CEO of Local Heroes. I'm together with Local Heroes for a little bit more than 2 years, and excited to be here. Thank you.
Tomek Karwatka.
Hi, guys. So I'm CEO of Divante. Divante is an e-commerce technology company. We help industry leaders build and develop e-commerce channel. We operate in Europe, Asia, and the US. I'm really happy to be here.
Zana.
Hello, my name is Jana. I'm a co-founder of SynStyle. And at SynStyle, we digitize textiles by considering physical properties. Nice to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
And Chiara.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chiara Colombi. I'm an associate professor at the School of Design of Politecnico di Milano, which is based in Milan, Italy. It's a design, architecture, and engineering university. We have been ranked 6th in the world for design, and I'm here tonight because we have partnered with GeekGoesChic with the DeFINE project that Politecnico is coordinating. It's a European project. We are gonna give some more information a little bit later. And as a project manager, I would like to get in touch a little bit more with you all as the project allowed to support SMEs and startups in fashion tech. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And since we all introduce ourselves, I think this is again time for your presentation, Chiara. I will stop sharing my screen so you have a mic.
Okay. Thank you very much. Just a second. I'm gonna share my screen. Okay. Okay, do you see it?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So as I was saying, I'm here to introduce DeFINE, which is a project that has been co-funded by COSME program of the European Community. COSME is an agency that is supporting the activities of SMEs in different sectors. In particular, DeFINE is dedicated to developing a fashion tech and innovation network for Europe. The project has been working since July 2018, and it will end next year in June, with the idea of supporting these two worlds, technology and fashion, to promote innovation for fashion and design industries, and in particular with two objectives: building up a network of incubators, accelerators, startups, and SMEs and financiers that can be considered the main stakeholders of a fashion technology community, in order to have a community of reference for each of them to rely on for their daily activity and to develop further projects, and to promote activities for knowledge sharing, developing new ideas, and collaboration. The project is coordinated by Politecnico, but it includes, as a huge consortium of partners, that includes fashion and design institutions like Politecnico and Institut Français de la Mode, based in Paris, and UAL, London College of Fashion, based in London. Business supports organizations like Inc., which is an incubator based in Boras, Sweden, SABE Burgos in Spain, and CIRIC, based in Cyprus, and some specialist networks like Eurotex, which represents the European textile network in all Europe, EBN, a European Business and Innovation Centers based in Belgium, and Media Deals that is represented tonight by Thierry. So this consortium, as I said, has these different kind of partners because we would like to cover with our knowledge and competences different activities in order to be sure to build up a community that is very much diverse and can address the different needs and activities of a fashion tech network, let's say. So startups and SMEs are, of course, the heart of this community, but also incubators, accelerators, financiers, and investors are as much as important, as we do recognize that great ideas are the heart of a fashion tech community, but also all the supporting activities that deals with financing and incubating are important. The objective, like share, connect, innovate, and mentoring, are the main activities of this project. It has been running almost by 2 years, so we have already networking events and knowledge sharing activities, and also a first round of mentoring support, which is something that we are going to replicate in the upcoming years. In particular, the activity that we offer for SMEs and startups is a mentoring support of 8 months that is accessible through a selection process. As I said, we are already running a first round of mentoring support, but we are currently selecting the participant for a second round. Our goal is to have 25 selected startups and SMEs at the end of the project, able to showcase their ideas, their product, their new processes in the fashion tech field that can represent the best innovation, innovative ideas, or that can represent the innovation level that Europe can promote. The other important contribution that the project offers is an online platform where we are going to share, we are already sharing, and we will continue to share not only information and materials and webinars such the one tonight, but also updated good practices in order to ensure that a broad community can take advantage of the knowledge that we are bringing in and building together. The platform I'm talking about is the project website, define-network.eu, where you can also become part of the community independently from the fact that you are selected or want to participate in the mentoring program. So registering into the platform, you can have access to dedicated materials and also get in touch with a huge number of SMEs, startups, and other stakeholders that you can start a conversation with. I'm not going to spend too much time telling you the story of the activities we already delivered, such info days where we covered helpful information how to improve the development of a startup, or supporting other specific activities for an entrepreneur, or financiers workshops where we, let's say, taught financiers how to understand the potentialities of fashion tech and how to recognize the most promising ideas and businesses, and fashion tech bootcamps, days of, let's say, working together, when we worked together with startups and SMEs interested in refining their business model, their idea, or getting in touch with professionals that could support them. Because I want to spend a little bit more of time tonight in talking about the mentoring program we are offering. And in case you are interested, you may apply to the second round that we are going to launch once the call for startups will close. The mentoring program we are offering, first of all, is totally free. And it includes 8 months of working with mentors that comes from the partners of the project, but also from an extended network that the partners are able to offer. The ideas that we are looking for are product services oriented, or processes oriented, or market approaches oriented. So we have we look at a definition of fashion tech that is very, very broad. We are not just considering fashion tech as wearable technologies or digital manufacturing or smart textile. We are interested in building together also a new definition, or a better definition, a more precise definition of fashion tech. So we are looking forward to receive applications that can grasp different perspective on these three innovation tracks. In the 8 months of mentoring, we deliver 80 hours in particular of mentoring. 40 hours are dedicated to a technical mentoring that is going to address a specific issue or need that the mentee will discuss together with mentors. 24 hours of support with a dedicated lead supervisor, which will be the one that will supervise the entire work with all the mentors and the mentees, and will ensure that there's an effective and real progress along the 8 months. 8 hours of investment readiness support, where you work together with the investment mentor in understanding how to get ready to be invested in. So we are not promising to receive investment from investors, but supporting you in getting ready to pitch your idea and to explain the best why someone should invest in your business. 8 hours of business management support as well, to refine a business model, or if the idea you are proposing is at the early stage, to build up a business model which is effective and suitable for the contemporary fashion tech market. And all this comes with the possibility to access to physical spaces and laboratories and tools that the different partners have at their location. So hopefully soon we'll be able to go back also to a physical dimension of the mentoring, and so the access to those labs and tools will be more effective again. The objective of the mentoring program is to generate new concepts and prototypes of products, services, processes, or market approach in order to showcase the best of the fashion tech in Europe. As I said, we are already running a first round of mentoring that will end in May 2020. The second round will start in September, this September, and will end in April 2021. How you can apply for this mentoring program. Just before going to how to apply, to show what we are doing currently in the first mentoring. These are the 11th selected businesses. One of them is SenStyle, which is with us tonight with Zana. So maybe she can tell you a little bit more of the experience she's living in, being part of DeFINE. So as I said, we are looking for having 25 mentees in total at the end of the project. So in this second round, we at least will select at least 14 new SMEs and startups. The second round will start in September, as I said, but you can apply until June 2020. The call for project has been open in last February, will be closed in June 2020, so there's still time, and you can apply on define-network.eu. The application is managed with a platform, FC6S, that ensure maximum confidentiality and privacy of all your data, and will allow you to answer to some questions that will let us understand and present your idea to a selection committee that is including external high-level stakeholders that are internationally recognized as experts in the field. So here you can see they come from different countries in Europe, and not only, and from different companies that are working already in fashion tech with different expertise. The selection criteria for the the mentees for the startups to be selected is to be part of the 28 countries that are recognized in the European community, plus Montenegro, Fyrom, Turkey, Albania, Serbia, Moldavia, Armenia, and Iceland. You have to be registered as a business with fashion tech innovative ideas and projects, and consider that these are the evaluation criteria that will be taken into consideration. Your market potential, the scalability and investment potential of your idea or business, the human resources potential you have, in the sense that questions will be asked about the team that is dedicated to the idea or business that you have, the potentialities of being a best case, an example, an exemplary example for European fashion tech and fashion tech communities at large, and of course the market research and knowledge achieved in order to demonstrate that you have already the ability to be marketable, let's say, in some way. The mentoring program that we are presenting tonight is basically the opportunity to have a professional guidelines along 8 months with experts in the field in order to have a faster growth in your business or in your idea development, and to have a stronger, more effective access to fashion tech networks. It is bespoke in the sense that will be tailored to your own reality and to your own need and potentiality, also in terms of investment strategy. It is not, though, a just-in-time consultancy or let's say daily program coaching, neither a promise of fundraising. So the fact that it is free does not include a 24 hours, 24/7, let's say, line for support, but still, we do believe that 80 hours of professional support with such network of experts is a great opportunity. Further opportunities are the participation of a final showcasing event that at the end of the project in 2021 will organize together with the European community. Again, being part of an online platform and partners channels, so having the possibility to participate and being mentioned and part of all the events that we'll continue to organize, and also being part in all the communication that all the partners do develop in their daily activity, and also the opportunity to have the opportunity to work on their pitching to financier panels. So this was really, really brief. There are definitely more information on our website, again, define-network.eu, but I'm also available in case you have a further question, and I hope that it was clear enough.
Thank you, Chiara.
Thank you. Now I'm gonna stop to share my screen.
Just to let participants know, you can ask questions in Q&A chat, in both in chat and Q&A, and we will answer them either directly or at the end of the session. So I would like to start with the current situation, what is happening right now. Many of our friends are struggling with their business or losing jobs. So the first question that comes to everyone's mind is, how long will this situation affect fashion industry? And I would like to address that question firstly to Chiara and to Tomek Karwatka.
Okay, hi, Tomek.
Yeah, please.
Okay. I want to turn and start the conversation with a positive attitude and saying that I hope the consequences will last forever, because I'm looking for a positive reaction to an emergency that, in my perspective, accelerated a situation that was in any case already happening. In the sense that we are seeing a lot of countries and businesses struggling, but there's also a lot of businesses that are reacting despite of the technical, financial, and physical limitations with a very positive and creative attitude. So I do think that it has been a dramatic way of realizing what was negative in general in fashion and what was very much needed to be accelerated for fashion tech in terms of offering much more meaningful not only products but services and solutions for the daily life. Very many times fashion tech is perceived with some distortions in the sense that always the two let's say parts of this sector, fashion and tech, are too much still considered separated, while the best innovation that we are looking already going on do provide a real integration between the two worlds in their identity, meaningful perspective, and so I do see that this acceleration, which has been a positive way of reacting to the crisis, will reveal to a broader community, not only in terms of consumers, but also in terms of entrepreneurs and investors and also policymakers, the opportunity that we do really have, and the opportunity for fashion to be much more meaningful than just, a product that lasts 1 week, but something that does not provide just a high performance, but can be meaningful in our daily life. And so much closer to what we were thinking was very far to come. So again, I would like to talk about the future of post-COVID as not a post-emergency, but a new normality where we can take the best of what we should have seen even before this dramatic situation we are all living.
I love your point here. So I want to stay positive as well, but I think we also need to think about, the situation now is really tough, and probably about 80% of companies are in serious financial distress. And I think we'll see a lot of bankruptcies, and we'll see, companies in deep trouble, because this is what I see from our clients. So from one hand, it would be great to think about positives and how all those things could change for better. But of course, we are in really serious situation. So I think for sure we will see another wave. And I think, like, when I think about the timeline, now it's, we see some positive changes now, and we will have some time that the retail companies, fashion companies will have some time to prepare for the next wave, right? So I think the next couple months will be really good time for all fashion tech companies to win a lot of new clients and to really show what we can achieve, and to really show why are we here and what we could change for better. So I think that's a great opportunity in the next couple of months, because all those companies, the large fashion companies, are super open to invest in tech right now. So that would be my positive add-on to what you say.
So who's the winner right now? Who's winning? You can either tell names or the ways they are succeeding.
I think in short terms, the winners are companies which are operating. So very back to basics situation. You need to have a product, And sometimes this is the main problem because, the product is not here. So you need to have a product, you need to be able to sell the product. So you need to have an e-commerce and good delivery. And then you are able to win. So I think that's in the short term. In the midterm, probably we will rather buy more products from companies with trust. So values are super important right now, like real values. Probably we'll also buy more from companies which are local, because again, those companies, they have products and they have values and they are closer to our heart. So we prefer to buy something from them. And in the long term, I think that things will change and there will be a lot of space for new players. And this is really interesting. Maybe co-panelists will add something to that.
Tomasz, Czarnecki, you have both products because I recently bought something, and e-commerce because I did that through your e-commerce. Who do you think is gonna win? Who's winning apart from local heroes, of course?
I think everyone is vulnerable. I would rather look at the business model that fashion companies has, and I would say that brands that has like strong direct to consumer channels are winning right now, and brands that put more focus on the community aspect and the transparency aspect and value to price ratio that is good, those companies are winning. And the companies that are growing their business strictly on wholesale channels, they're losing big time right now, and they're distressed, as Tomasz said. But I think brands that are having huge communities around and brands that focus and invest a lot in direct to consumer channels, they're winning right now, or at least they're more stable than the others.
Isn't it, because I have like a total different opinion. In my opinion, the companies that are winning are companies like Amazon or Allegro in our
I was
area.
just thinking about the fashion companies. Yeah, strictly fashion companies. Sorry.
But isn't like this situation bring new opportunities to actually this big tech, and by big tech I mean here like companies like Amazon or Zalando, who had kind of good results the first quarters?
I think, speaking about tech in general, I think basically tech companies will do great in the midterm to long term. Probably in the short term, everyone will suffer, like in just different areas. Maybe they won't suffer in terms of sales, but they might suffer in terms of like supply chains or relationship with their customers. So in the short term, everyone is suffering. Some people suffer, some companies suffer more, and some companies are suffering less. But I do believe the tech companies will recover quickest, and they will recover quite soon. Comparing to old school retail companies that will struggle, and some of them will go bankrupt for sure.
How did this current situation affect the relationship with your clients or with your partners?
So I would answer like both ways, because like we pretty much, our business is slightly diversified. So we do have both channels. We do have wholesale channel and we do have direct to consumer channel. So in terms of our customers from direct to consumer channel, you need to adjust, you need to adapt the communication. Like you can't be that bold in certain statements. So you need to adjust, you gotta like speak calmly to them. You need to find a common language, a common platform that you kind of communicate with your customers. And in terms of wholesale, what I can say from our perspective is that some of the customers will postpone the orders. Some of them you will have, as a fashion brand, you will get some delays. And still, it's a very thin line how you build those relationships with your wholesalers, with your stockists, and it's challenging. I think it differs from a brand to brand, but yeah, overall, I would say the wholesale channel is kind of frozen right now.
And Tomek, Karwatka, what do you think? How's your relationship with clients, because you're on the other side of the business?
Yeah, sure. I need to agree. I think we need to work on some, statements we can disagree to make it more interesting. I will try. But to be honest, what's really important is values. Come on, back to basics. We have really huge problem here globally. So we try to help our clients as much as possible. We see, we focus on e-commerce technology. So we see clients from very different industries. Like we have clients from healthcare industry where everything is, skyrocketing. We have clients from traditional fashion retail where, you know, the stores are closed and they're struggling. So we try to help as much as possible. And I'm interested, like, because, you know, for us, the situation more balanced. If someone from fashion retail is in deep trouble, we can like say, okay, you will pay us later, right? Because we have other clients. But I think not every company is in such a good situation. So probably for some companies, it's, you know, life death situation, and maybe you can share something from your perspective. I think that the wholesalers, as Tomasz said, this is where there is a lot of blood.
So what qualities should these companies have to actually survive?
Yeah, so my opinion is they should act really fast and try to be close to the values they believe in, but to act really fast. And this is something, you know, what we discuss in IT very often, like agile is so sexy methodology because you can act fast. And then you start agile IT teams, but the management is not aware what the agile is, right? And they still think in the waterfall. So they take like a month to decide. And then it's like, you know, the whole situation is really crappy because you have, you know, IT department which could act really fast and management board which is still like doing old school business. So I think the management boards, those guys, they should change. They should act really fast. And I think that's a huge challenge. And some companies will do that and some companies will not. And I will bet on those fast guys rather.
Zana?
One second. I could add also here, it's absolutely, we have to be fast as a tech company. And also crisis is very great, you know, always great for hunting for good talents. And this is the time now to get really good people around. And actually, I'm looking myself for some team members. So if somebody interested from the audience will be great, just write to us on info@sensestyle.com. And another story is collaboration. You know, recently we actually faced this situation when we started to rethink our financials and how we are going to make everything first fast, but at the same time to cut some costs. And it happened that I needed to switch the company, the tech company we were working with, because they became too expensive to us and we couldn't negotiate the good discounts. They just said we cannot go further, and I changed it. And it was a moment when, for example, we lost one team of developers, and then we should have transferred the tech from them to another company, but we needed some time until we switched to another company. So it was quite a difficult time for us the last months. But then I was talking with my friend who also runs tech company, and he said, okay, we have a team empty because they're dealing with parkings, you know, and they have any activity right now. So he said, we can work for you now, and then we will see how we will pay back or what we will be doing. So it was a great help from him. Like, he put his team of developers to get out the tech from another company. So kind of, I feel a lot for any companies is about collaboration really today. That's the way to come out of this crisis.
I have, I truly believe in collaboration, and I'm the first person in the industry to collaborate with everyone. Although in my opinion, like network and relationship is super important, especially when you are in a crisis. But I think that what can be equally helpful for companies, both small companies and big companies, is actually to know how to use data. And for small companies, it's much easier because they have a much smaller amount of data. For big companies, they really have to know how to use big data. And this is when you see the difference of those companies that are actually doing quite a good job right now on the internet, but not only on the internet, like in retail in general, and companies that don't know how to listen to data and don't know how to use that. And even in small companies, you can now see who's just, you know, they're on the internet trying to communicate and not to listen. So maybe it's also about relationship, but in more quantitative way. So that's my opinion on that. Companies that will know how to use tech first of all, but also data. This is something that will help, in my opinion. And
yeah,
for,
but you know, it's just to add one thing, because I think you started a very good session. I think the most important part in this IT world, it's not the tech itself, and even not the knowledge itself, but the culture, right? Because you need to have this open culture to start asking questions and start questioning how your business operates, because otherwise you're not able to react fast. And this is what we just heard, right? You are losing team of developers, and you are able to act really fast to solve the problem, right? And it's more, I think it's more about the culture, and tech is just tech, right? You can buy the best tech and you know, do nothing, right? Or wait a couple of months to figure out what to do, right? That's the
use
problem.
data to know what to do.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
allow
it's
people.
Everybody wants to talk now. It's also a mindset, you know, because when I faced this situation, everybody was saying, come on, how can you just right now take and change the tech? And you have to act fast before your emotions come in, you know, like before you start stressing out, you're like, okay, have to solve it.
But when do you act? You act when you have data to actually like rely on some kind of data. And we kind of tackled interesting question here. Who has more open culture than startups? And startups are not in an easy situation as well, since most of startups are relying on funding. And here's a question to both Thierry and Zana. You're a startup, and Thierry, you're working in funding in financial. How has the startup situation changed recently, and how can startups survive? Maybe Thierry?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, okay, it's working. Well, I think at the moment it's still difficult to know. There is definitely in the last weeks some decrease of investment in general, but I think it's just due because of the COVID, and many investors have just take a break a little bit on investment. But I can see already when I look at the statistics that type of investment is coming back. So I think it's just a period that will hopefully take not too much time. I mean, at the moment I'm having some discussion with investors about, for example, for investment forum with DeFINE, and people are quite positive. And I think, as you said before, I think there's a lot of expectation from the market and from investors for new ideas, for new innovative projects, new business model. I think that's really what they are looking for. I think what you mentioned about data is very important. I think investors are, because most of the time they're coming from a kind of tech world, they are very interested to understand how fashion tech can use the data, and if they can use the data in the right way and make it a business model out of it. So I think that's very, very important. So I think, yes, it's a break at the moment, but hopefully it will come back. And I think it's a good opportunity for startups to present themselves. Some will die. It's clear. I mean, I've died.
Most of them.
Yeah. I mean, most I don't know, because I think many people just stopped working. I don't think it means that they just died, but they have stopped working. So I think we have this kind of problem now, but I think they will reappear. I mean, I'm based in Germany, and in Germany we have reopened already for the last week. And to be honest, when I talk to startups or companies, they didn't really stop. Most of even the shops, etc. I mean, okay, some specific shops closed, but they always found a way to do that. So in Germany, it's quite different. Many people didn't stop. I mean, for example, even in health, I mean, for example, dentists never stopped in Germany. And for example, in France yesterday, I heard that dentists had to stop 2 months and restart on Monday. So I think, depending on the countries, it's a bit of a different situation.
How are you doing, Zana? right now as a startup,
So,
apart from your IT team?
yeah, so basically funding was also for us very important question. And since we are doing innovation, we were relying a lot on public funding. And of course, the budgets now for this year already allocated, we still can apply, which this is a major shift that we were thinking about next year of applying. Now we shift everything that we will apply this year because next year public funding will not be there, obviously. But also it's kind of, this crisis made us to think on bootstrapping a lot, so not to rely also on investment. But again, I agree with Thierry in the sense like you cannot think about other investment channels, what is going to happen, because that's not a normal crisis, it's something new. We never saw this before, so maybe it's just a panic right now, and then everybody will come back and everything will start working the same way.
Isn't it a good situation? When I was starting my startup in 2012 with my friends, we were doing a programming language. There was this culture of, if you don't have a funding, if you don't have a VC, then you kind of don't have your value, like literally. So isn't it a great opportunity to actually shift your mind into like thinking more about relations and more about how to use what you have and bootstrap than to think about VC? And I would ask Chiara about that question.
Well, I wanted to link already the answer I'm going to give to other questions that were asked before. I do think that beyond the data and beyond investment, the ability to shift to the concept of smart business is fundamental, where the 4.0. So the traditional 6 pillars of the 4.0s are, I guess, known, and one of them is networking and the ability of being transparent, modular, and also the idea of being interoperable. So I do believe that, of course, we cannot not use data. We cannot not use the traditional channels that are the digital channels, but the ability is to be unique in the sense that you can use all these ingredients to propose a business model that is so unique to be flexible to react. As Zana was saying, you cannot rely on the context as it is today, because we have been proven that nothing is gonna last. And in the fashion tech, the speed cannot be just the need to push the consumer to have something different, but is the need to evolve and the ability to grasp the opportunity of a network that you can build to go further and add qualities to your business.
How to get that network and how to get that all into your startup?
Well, there are contexts that there are facilitated historically. If I do see the Italian situation, we are a country of small and medium enterprises that rely on territorial proximity of an entire supply chain that has been disruptive for outsourcing and localization. But a lot of businesses are understanding that reshoring, already before COVID, reshoring was the answer. So you can rely on a series of capability, competencies that are really close to you. And I do think that today, even if certain countries or territories do not have this background, the culture of referrals, the referrals marketing in some way can be applied in this way. Zana was saying, I solved an issue that I had because a friend of mine. So the closest the network can be a starting point, but getting exposed to different events such this one, for example, or not to be self-referring, but the DeFINE community as exactly as a first objective, the one to create a community. So you are looking for a competence, you go on the contemporary yellow pages of fashion tech, let's say.
I can add also on this term that because we are on mentorship program of DeFINE, and it's really great. It help us to get fast all the network and all the connection that we need. It's really, I recommend everyone to apply. It should not be a question. It's really great program and helps to our startup a lot to get faster to where we are today, I would say.
And me as like a startupper from the past, I would say that this is like a great opportunity for startups to actually gain a bigger value by bootstrapping, because right now, in my opinion, Thierry, you may disagree with me at any moment. Right now, startups will have a smaller value because they will struggle for money. But for those who will survive and get to know how to bootstrap it, how to, survive, they will basically value themselves more. So at the end of the day, maybe these startups will be more valuable, and you will get less share for the same money. What do you think?
Yeah, no, but I agree with you that at the moment the values are going down. So of course, for investors, it could be interesting now to look at projects because they are basically cheaper. So that's definitely what's happening now. I don't think it's a problem, and I think for investors it's very interesting to see companies bootstrapping. I don't think there is a problem. The problem, I think, is more the timing. I mean, if you are bootstrapping, I don't know, 6 months, 9 months, I think that's fine. If you're bootstrapping 3 years, I think people start to think, okay, there's no scalability and it doesn't work. So I think that's very, very important to look at something that goes faster, and investment can help for that.
So how can startups keep their financiers? Thierry and maybe Tomek, Karwatka.
What do you mean with keeping financiers?
So how can they survive like without VC and without like not thinking about mentoring?
Well, if they have clients and if you've got traction, I think it's the best way to survive and to make it work. So, and that's what investors are looking for either as well. So there's no problem about that.
So how to get?
Yeah. So it's once you need the investment, but you have to get ready, and that's often the problem a little bit when we talk to Fash&Tech companies, is that they are a bit too early. They don't have a product ready. They don't have a community. At the beginning, we talked about that. I think that's a very, very important point, to develop this community, traction, basically. And once you've got all that in place, it's much easier to get investment at the right value. If you talk to people too early on, yes, the value will be very low, and it's going to be very difficult to get what you want.
Tomek, Karwatka, how to get value? I know you're just living with that topic every day.
Yeah, absolutely. When someone asks me how to, get money to develop something, always the best answer is, have you tried from your clients? Because that's not so bad idea. Yes. So that's obvious, but I think one strategy I would try, because it's really hard, close to my heart, is in this moment, I think you can use this collaboration we discussed here, building an open source project and using open source a lot. And then using open source as a marketing tool, because what we see, sometimes it's hard to validate startup without, a lot of marketing and sales. But you can instead just build something small and just release that. And if you release things in open source, there is a high probability somewhere in the world there's a IT team looking for something like this.
Can you explain open source to fashion industry?
Yeah, sure. So you can just build your product and release the product together with the code, which is open, and allow other people to use this without paying you. With this, sounds like insane idea, but actually it's really great idea, because there's a lot of IT people outside looking for tools to shorten time to market, right? So we in IT, usually we start from checking tools I can use without coding, right? Like Lego bricks. I am checking those tools, and it's a huge probability that somewhere outside there's a company looking for some blocks. And if your software would fit their needs, there's again high probability they will contact you and start a discussion. And I saw a lot of really great products coming out of those discussions, because those clients probably they need to change the product a little bit, and you start discussion about product market fit with real client. And what's also great, usually the client is able to pay you to change the product, and then you can bootstrap quite effectively. And what I see, maybe Thierry will tell us more, but what I see is VCs are more and more open to support this kind of projects too. So I see more and more projects coming out of open source, and then starting commercial operations backed by really great VCs, because you can prove your traction, right? And you have some clients, and it's a quite safe business. So I will try that if I were you, if I would like to start a new startup right now.
How to bring open source to fashion industry? Like fashion tech, it's easier, but fashion industry, any ideas?
Fashion industry is quite good in IT right now, so we're winning a lot of clients by doing open source, and we see those large companies, they invest a lot in IT, and then those guys are looking for shortcuts, and we provide some shortcuts, and this is kind of Trojan horse, because they use your software, they use it without paying, which is great now because they're looking for something which is cheap to start with, right? And then they really like it, and you can help them, but then there's like an enterprise license, and maybe they need to pay you a little bit for that. So this is a really smart strategy from what I see. We built 2 products by using this strategy, and those products are profitable without any VCs. So quite cool situation for a founder.
How do you use product hunts for your releases?
Yeah, we love product hunt. So basically, a product hunt is a really cool place for tech enthusiasts which are looking for new products. So with every new idea, we try to build an amazing a visual a concept around it, and then try product hunt. And from our latest product hunt campaign, we got 100 leads, and those leads are not clients, but still are people who are open to talk about your product, right? Which is great for any startup. So yeah, guys, you need to check it. Like it's if you're starting right now, check GitHub, check Product Hunt, great places to build traction.
You mentioned help from others, and I want to ask about help from the big tech. Should big companies help smaller businesses, and are they in some way responsible for our small businesses? Maybe yes, Tomasz Czarnecki.
So I have a question to that question. Are we speaking about big tech companies or big
Right
fashion
now,
companies or big fashion tech companies?
I believe that big tech companies are fashion tech at some point, collecting data through wearables, for example, or selling through their like retail platforms. But right now I'm asking about the big tech, and later we can discuss about those 20 companies that have 97% of income in fashion. So let's start with tech.
So in terms of tech, like you might disagree with me, but I think like none of these companies have responsibility to help smaller companies or smaller brands. I think if they do help, smaller brands should appreciate it, but I don't think it's their moral obligation or responsibility to help smaller brands. So that's my point of view. However, yeah, your opinion might differ. I would like answer briefly on that question. I feel.
Okay, so my opinion is that like they don't have like a moral responsibility, but we as people who vote have moral responsibility to actually choose wisely to have this balance. But I believe it's they are doing that right now. Like all the companies, big companies, are helping in one way or another because it's basically helping their business, and it's an opportunity for them to actually grow their businesses, which is great move, and I really respect that.
And I have some point to add also here, since we're talking about tech companies, and you will see from the industries, like I receive all the time, why some big company doesn't do what you do and how you are going to be dealing with that. But if you look at Amazon and Google, they can do so much and they can do everything, but they are not doing because those experiments, they cost a lot of money. It's experiments, so they better watch around for good startup and then buy the startup or somehow to collaborate. It's much cheaper for them to do it. So it's not about, of course, they don't have, like, I don't really think they should help. It's competition at the end of the day, which makes market great, And then also for them, it's much easier to work with startup than try to copy startup.
And how about these 20 fashion companies that have the biggest income? They are all developing tech. And my question here is, should all smaller companies, I believe they are developing tech basically because they see companies like Facebook, Microsoft, Google as a competition. This is my opinion. And they want to be independent, which is wise. But should we do the same? Like, should local heroes develop technology at some point?
What kind of technology?
I don't know. Do you kind of try to develop something by yourself?
So I would say we do develop tech, and we are in a tech game. We don't shout about it loudly, but we are. And I do believe that like the answer for that question like totally depends on the end game that every founder should have or may have. And I believe if you are in a game that you're trying to build some value that will stay for the long term, and then try to either flip the company or get funded or anything, then if you're looking to that, then you need to build some intellectual property in order to like boost the value of the company. And I think like tech does really well here, because that's something that you can present or like further use to boost your sales. However, if you're just a local store, or if you're a local brand and it's just like your hobby, or like you're not planning to do anything, or you're not planning to grow, you're not planning to expand, then I wouldn't really jump into tech, because it doesn't really make sense.
I wouldn't jump to business.
Like, lease it. Yeah. I wouldn't lease it. I would lease it, or I would rent it. I would buy it from someone else. And also there's a huge challenge within fashion brands or within fashion companies to understand what is really the tech and how they could use it, because there's a huge gap between IT and fashion. Because I believe that we miss people in fashion that do understand the tech aspect, and that are kind of like 50% in the fashion world, but also with the other leg in the tech world, and are kind of a hub within the company. Because I see that if companies are having people like that, they're moving way quicker in the market, and they are adapting to the market way quicker. Whereas companies that do not have any IT background and any IT knowledge, they're very slow in reactions time. And sometimes they're like correcting a bug on a website for a month or 2 months, and it's still there. And yeah, with this kind of speed, you're not able to adjust to the market like as quickly as one would have to survive.
And I also have another point to add here to that question, is that, for example, local startup here also based in Bilbao, which is called Luquiero. It's subscription model, and they have around 200 fashion brands on board, and they help their stylists with visual search. So they use AI for visual search of items similar, but here is the question of economy of scale. They do this inside for their own kind of company, but if they could get another startup who's doing this for many companies around, they are much better at that, you know. It's like, it's all about this. The same as some company will start doing what we do, we will have advantage that we will work in with many other companies. We will have much more data, and means you can develop and improve your tech much more.
One thing having data, the other thing is knowing how to use that, right? I would ask that question to Thierry, since you don't work neither in fashion nor in tech. How do you see that like small startups, both in fashion and both in tech, can they still be disruptors? They can still, you know, compete with either these 20 companies in fashion or these big 5 companies in tech?
Well, I think, yes, we need some hope about that there will be some startups with disruptive idea and model and innovation to disrupt what was there. I mean, Amazon started as a startup, you know, at some point. So I think it's still possible. But
so how should they exit?
Yeah, well, the exit is more difficult. I mean, at the moment, because it's so monopolized, as you say, with 5 big tech companies and 20 fashion tech companies. So it's, of course, the potential of real big exit is limited. IPO before the COVID was back a little bit, so that could be a way. But yeah, it's difficult. But to come back to what Tomasz said before, I think he's right on creating traction from technology. I think it's a very good way to develop traction and to develop that. But I think when I talk to fashion tech company at the moment, or fashion company, most of the time they are not driven by tech. They are driven more by the fashion part, by the creative part. And then, of course, now they want to include the tech part in some way to access data, to be able to do online, etc. And I think that's a little bit the question today is should the good ideas come from tech people who go into fashion, or the other way around? And to be honest, I don't have the answer to that, but I can see that the tech people like Tomasz, for example, could do something in fashion because he knows different sectors. But of course, the fashion people tend to know only the fashion sector. And so it's going to be more difficult for them maybe to get into the other sector or to access other type of community, etc. through technology.
So they should collaborate?
Yeah, I mean, definitely collaborate, but understand how to do the balance between the tech and the creative side. We need creative side. I mean, I really believe that the tech is interesting. I think we've had 10 years, 20 years of very strong tech. What's going to happen next? I mean, are we going to have too many coders, too many tech people? And then, everything is always cycles. So, next cycle, maybe we need much more creative people.
Chiara?
Understanding the tech part.
Yeah, well, I would say that the two, the fashion and the technology should know each other better in the sense of their real purpose, because it's true that fashion colossi are not tech advanced, but also small tech groups do not understand which is the real value of fashion beyond the fact of producing garments as we know it today. I do not believe that fashion tech is this. It's not the innovation is not being able to read the data to choose the best color or the best shape for millions of consumers in real time. There are so many opportunities to innovate fashion that has not been innovated. The latest innovation probably in fashion that we know is fast fashion, which has not led to a very good solution worldwide. But technology, technology is also materials, is not automatically IT or AI. So there are so many levels where you can embrace technology to redesign the product, but also redesign your supply chain, redesign your manufacturing system in order to solve the issue that we are all facing today. I cannot believe that we can continue to produce polyester as we produce it today because it's not sustainable. So the point is not all responsibility for a fashion company that needs to produce less because it would produce just what is needed from the market based on AI solution or data analysis, but how we can change a manufacturing system and really build up smart products, smart factories, and smart networks. So I think that there's the fashion tech needs to embrace this perspective in order not to have competitors coming from other sectors introducing this new idea before fashion, before tech, and before fashion tech. We have seen already in other industries that outsiders and small company has changed completely those industry. Let's think about Netflix. They were nothing, and now they are a big player because they entered the entertainment industry with a completely different perspective. They have diversified, and now they are content producers and not what they were supposed to be at the beginning. So I'm expecting that players such those are much faster, are demonstrated to be much faster in giving new answers to the dimension of fashion tech. If we are not able to see the opportunity beyond the idea of producing fast and producing the latest cool garment.
I would add something to that. Wearables are the great example of actually how tech industry is tackling fashion and connecting fashion with other industries like health industry, or in the future with insurance industry, with entertainment, and so on and so on. So every big company, every big tech companies nowadays focusing some on one way or another on wearables and on AR and VR. And I think that Zana will have something to add here.
In general, about the point of between tech and fashion, we should not forget what fashion is first. And this is why I love fashion, because it's absolutely illogical, irrational, emotional, and tech people will never understand that. You know, that's the main point that, for example, I saw myself with building my startup and working with tech people. It's like when I'm a freak with touch and feel of textiles. You know, I can touch, and even the two textiles very close, I can tell you the difference, what chemicals or maybe dye could be used. And I needed to explain to tech people what's the difference between those textiles, because for them it was no difference. And obviously it's like fashion will be always first. Technology is just a tool. You know, we should not think that it's it's to serve industry. It's not to overtake it, kind of. That's
finally I can say no.
Yes, I knew you're gonna disagree. Thank you.
Of course, we planned it before, right? Again, I think it's when you think about IT, you miss one thing. IT is not about IT, it's about culture. And why I love IT is because in IT, that's probably the first industry, probably the first, but not the last one, where when knowledge is super important and people just, will treat you better if you know more, which is not so bad concept. And where openness, it's value, it's big value. And that's why, because I've listened to what you said before, and I had this conclusion, like IT companies are starting fashion initiatives, but fashion companies are just staying on their own field. They are not doing too many interesting things. Wearables are coming from IT. Why not from fashion? Those guys know this better, right? But they're very closed. And I think that's the biggest problem of the fashion industry, because, Probably they're not attacked by IT companies yet, because there are much better industries to attack, like finance, right? Much better. So fashion is not so sexy for them, but I think like big IT companies, like platforms, they will realize at some point, okay, maybe now it's time for fashion. And I would love to see fashion companies being ready for that, because that would be really tough for them. For
So
now,
I could argue also in the sense that my point is that yes, they don't enter because it's not very attractive, but also there is something in fashion which is not rational for tech people. For example,
that's the problem. Yeah, that's true.
That's the thing. Like
it's
Amazon,
not
for example, let's think Amazon producing garments now. Are they so successful? People like it or no? I am very interested that we'll be able to hack this, you know? AI probably will never understand why we like one thing and not the other. I mean, there's not so much data yet because it's all about psychology, it's all about sociology, you know?
And
something that will be the last thing to hack.
both sociology and psychology at the end of the day focus on data and gather data and analyze that. So I kind of kindly disagree with you here, Zana, and I am more willing to agree with Tomek this time.
But how do you gather this data? That's the problem. Which data you are talking
by
about?
wearables there, I think that
That's
here I will disagree with Tomek, who said that big tech is not going for fashion yet. They already did that like a few years ago by retail, by like Amazon Echo Look or any way of using Alexa or any assistants. We are looking for new interfaces which are going to be connected to fashion somehow. And the last but not least, I already said like wearables, and this is the way to connect fashion with other industries, and Google and Microsoft and all the other big companies are already doing it. So I think they attacked fashion industry. I think they are very smart and I respect them for that long time ago. So we are just still sleeping, in my opinion, but that's my humble opinion. I want to hear Tomasz Czarnecki.
So like I would also I think I'm more on the side of Tomasz Karwatka, and I just want to drop here that please consider the valuations. Please consider the valuations of some of the tech companies. Like Zuzana said, that they're unable to acquire those skills. They're able to acquire a couple of fashion companies, and they will have those skills immediately. So, like for example, if you look on Apple and how much cash they're having on their balance sheet right now, they're able to buy a couple of really big fashion companies, and all of a sudden they will be into fashion. So I do believe tech companies at the end of the day will win, because they're just way larger and capable of way more things.
Well, if I
Fashion
may,
is art, you know.
if I may, I do disagree, because here we are tackling just the product dimension of fashion. We are not tackling the industrial dimension of fashion. The product, the fashion product, may have a humanistic dimension, but I assure you that all the production does not have anything to deal with art. It's really a very complicated process, no matter what is the kind of final product. So if big tech companies are entering already the fashion system, the fashion sector within the product dimension, we are missing out all the part of the manufacturing, the organizational logistics, and so on and so forth, which I do see are much more important, because in that way, we are gonna work not just on the final part of the supply chain, but also at the early stages of the supply chain, which is what is lacking today in the traditional fashion that has worked just in delocalizing, producing with less cost, and whatever we know, all the things that we already know. While on the product, fashion companies, the big fashion companies, the ones that holds the market, have been invested in buying small companies that are related to their own business to acquire the knowledge. So I do agree that that model should be shifted in other parts of their businesses, because it's something that they are already doing. The big fashion corporations are buying small companies that are able to produce unique manufacturing processes in order to have those manufacturers available to competitors. So if fashion tech can be embraced with this perspective, I think it would be much more helpful for fashion in general, and would be a much bigger opportunity also for small companies, because it's a larger market opportunity.
So which technologies should we invest in, both as fashion and as entrepreneurs? Which technologies will be the big thing in like 5 to 10 years? And maybe we'll start with Chiara and later move to Tomek Karwatka.
Well, if we look at what is going on right now, for sure I do see AI as one of the main technology to invest in. But again, understanding what are the impacts on the entire supply chain. And in order to develop more the dimension of smart factories and smart network, I do believe that IoT, IOP, and 5G will be the technology we have to work with to innovate the fashion tech sector. So the opportunity to really have not just fastest processes and cut costs, but in order to integrate the digital and the physical dimension to promote an integration that does affect not just the retailing, the distribution, but research, design, and product development as well.
Tomasz?
I would try to add more pragmatic point of view here, as I love the philosophical point of view too. So if someone asked me to start a fashion tech startup, I would think about 3D, because I think the whole
3D
value
printing
chain,
or VR?
Yeah,
AR.
Just let me finish. Because I think the whole value chain will change, and I think about 3D very holistically. Like, we start from designing in 3D, and then we do not need to create prototypes. We can just test those 3D designs on 3D models. Then we can just publish these photorealistic renders, and people can just buy it, and then we can send those same models to factory and produce it. And now it's super separated. So sometimes brands use 3D modeling instead of taking pictures. It's happening already, but it's not integrated. It's not one model. That's why it's so not cool, and it's so expensive. But when I think about digitizing the whole chain, that would be awesome, like really awesome. I would gladly invest in this kind of startup. That's a great idea.
I have to add point here, because Chiara mentioned 5G internet. What is 5G is tactile internet, and that's exactly. And the industry, the fashion industry, will not be digitized until textiles will be.
Yep.
So that's the main point, that why fashion industry have been so reluctant to tech. That was the main point, because textiles are not like metals to build elevators. It's not like some rigid materials for the cars. For robotics, for example, how robot will stitch, it's all about how the pressure is applied, how the fabric goes through. So the main thing that we as an industry, I think we have to hack, and this is what we're exactly doing in textile part, to embrace that part. that's nobody is doing that. It's a question for me why, should be.
Thierry, where would you put your money?
Well, I think it's difficult to say now, to be honest. I think there are lots of different ways. I mean, I understand exactly what Chiara said and Tomasz as well about the smart producing. But if you look at where investors are investing now, I mean, for the DeFINE project, we've been doing a mapping of investors and where do they invest. I mean, I don't remember exactly the number, but I think more like 70% or 60% was in e-retailing. I mean, the end product, as we say. And I think that's what people are looking at the moment to invest, because it's closer to consumer, it's closer to money coming back, and it's less risky at the moment, or they don't know exactly in which direction this smart producing will go. But I agree that midterm, that's where it should be. But in reality, when you really look at the fact where people invest today, they don't really invest into that today. So that's something needs to be changed. And in the project, that's what we've been trying to do as well through these financier workshops, to have different financiers to talk to each other and present and talk with startups as well to understand how they mean. But also the number, I mean, Chiara, you could say maybe, I don't know if you know, but the number of companies submitting application more on the e-retail side is much higher. So that's a bit the problem. So I don't know, but we on the investment side, we have to follow what we are offered. I mean, of course, we can look at different other things, but that's where the competition is at the moment.
Tomek, Czarnecki, what would be tech that you would develop or implement in your company?
I love the idea of Tomasz Karwatka, the thing with I'm not sure if I understood it correctly, but like
it's even better,
idea,
right? If you do not understand it fully, it's even better because it's more yours.
Like so the way how I understood it would be some kind of tech that would create like digital pretty much apparel that we could like with AR apply on every single person and then share it across social, for example, and then perhaps create some marketplace with those skins and therefore limit the usage of apparel itself and kind of limit the pollution. That would be great. I do believe, as Thierry said, that the material production innovation, it's more in the midterm. I don't see it coming in the short term, like within a half a year or year. I don't see it coming on a mass scale, but I do believe it's a crucial part to start actually innovating the whole sector. And I'm still a huge fan, and I believe the next couple of years will be the years of direct consumer channels and the way how big apparel brands are pushing towards that and how marketplaces are securing their marketplaces with their own brands. I do believe direct to consumer is the way to go for the next couple of years.
And here I also will add to the question, the argument that we had that tech will never take. This is exactly the thing. Why we love some brands and we don't. It's not about tech. It's fashion thing. Why we love some certain brand and we don't love the other. And this is what tech will not. It's just. This is my point. That is just serving the industry. There is no tech without the industry.
We love Apple.
And Apple did, by the way, collaboration with fashion brands because they couldn't develop it well.
They know what they are doing. Google developed their wearables in 2014. They had the Google I/O before vacation, and they kind of didn't put it into the market. Then Apple came during the New York Fashion Week 2014 and published Apple Watch on China, I believe, Vogue cover. And you can see on Polish statistics when did wearables started to sell. It was in the month of Apple Watch premiere, and I have data for that to share with you.
But that's a bit different. When people buy tech, it's because you buy phone because you need phone. You know, the same with wearables. And then those tech companies, they partner with fashion brand, Tommy Hilfiger, Burberry. They partner with them because they cannot hack design part.
I think it's a great thing for another discussion, which would be long, but we don't have time for that. But it's a great point. I would add to what both Tomek said with 3D. This is the way to actually answer for Chiara's question or like issue that you started, that we need to change from thinking about producing then selling to selling then producing, and that would probably save us a lot of energy and money. But I wouldn't agree with a statement that AR fashion would be more sustainable, because we don't know that yet. It's like you have too much data on many points, and we cannot say that computing all that stuff and like showcasing it on Instagram, we kind of don't have that data. I would just be careful with that, although I would love to think it would go that way.
Well, more unsustainable than what we are today, we cannot, I hope.
I hope. That would be my last question to all of you guys. What is the biggest lesson that you've learned in the past few weeks, and that you think that Fash&Tech learned in the past few weeks? And I would start with Thierry this time.
Well, I think, I think everybody learned that anything can change radically in a few days, which I think nobody expected that in the past. So that things can really change very fast. And I think for Fash&Tech, I think they of course it's as we said at the beginning, it's a big change, and I think it's a good way to realize for them that they are really need to think maybe differently, as we discussed, doing this link with tech in a different way, in a better way, and create more collaboration, and not stay in their silo and saying, okay, we are working with tech, it's nice, but to be really collaborative and not just using tech as a tool, as we discussed. Yeah.
Zana?
Oh, for me, that was the lockdown in general. That was great, because I realized one thing, that limitations that we had in SynStyle and with the vision of SynStyle, and we actually went much bigger now, much more ambitious, and it's really was nothing changed actually. It's just sitting and thinking that really we missed some point, that because we were developing so fast, going so fast, that we needed to rethink everything, and obviously limitation, we broke them, and first in my head, I think.
Tomasz, Karwatka?
So I think that when you see something bad is coming, you should start acting right now, because you never know how much time do you really have. I think this is a great lesson for fashion retailers.
Yeah.
Chiara?
Yeah, actually, I was thinking about time as well. And one lesson is not to procrastinate. And the second lesson is to reflect on the time that is really important to you and your business, in the sense that I guess that everybody has learned in some way not to be overwhelmed by things that are not necessarily very much important. So being able to split the timeline with the fastest one that shouldn't be overcoming the slowest, where you have the time to reflect and be more strategic.
Tomasz?
I would say expect the unexpected. No, but to be honest, it made me rethink our approach to wholesale. I do believe like the wholesale as a model is kind of outdated and haven't been innovated for quite a while. And yeah, I've put a lot of thoughts there, and we want to change a couple of things.
So what do you want to change?
Stay tuned.
That is so local heroes, what you said right now. I would say that I am not very optimistic about people in general. I don't think we will change. Like there are many crises I already remember too, and we didn't change much. Although I would agree with all of you here that this is a great time to actually rethink and act fast, to actually change something. And this is a great time for startups and for small companies to actually grow maybe in collaboration with big tech, maybe in collaboration with big fashion. That's one of the ways. I think it's a great time to actually, crisis is a great time to it's a catharsis for the industry, for every industry. So I'm looking forward to see some fashion and fashion tech companies to actually grow after the crisis, and one of those companies are local heroes to become a really global.
Thank you.
So now we have some time for questions from our audience. Katarzyna, do you have something prepared? Do you have something interesting?
Hi, hello everyone. I would like to start with saying thank you to all our speakers and of course to Kasia for hosting the webinar. It was really interesting to hear what you have to say. How do you feel about the industry, about the merge between fashion and technology? Let's see how it will evolve. We have some questions. Some are related to the DeFINE mentoring program. Some are directly to the speakers. So I will start with the DeFINE program, the mentoring program. I have one question to Chiara. If you could answer, what are the criteria you're taking into consideration during the selection process? Thank you.
May I?
Yes, yes, of course.
Yes. So as I was mentioning, we are looking for a proposal that shows to be, let's say, conscious of the state of the art of the market. So the capability to let us understand if you know the market where you want to enter, if you know who is already there, and which is the innovation you are proposing there. And also if you have an idea of the marketability of your idea. We are looking for understanding about your structure, in the sense that we are looking to understand which is the human resources and competencies that you have internally, or if you are if you need to be supported in some way in complementing those. We are looking for fashion tech ideas. Probably this should be the first point that I should point it out, in the sense that we received in the first round many applications that were not actually precisely in this sector, because they didn't consider the relevance of technology. But were more fashion ideas that could be delivered through already existing solution. And talking about existing solution, it's important that you let us understand what is your contribution if you are using already existing technologies, for example, as we were mentioning on an open source philosophy. What is your contribution? Can you use on a market IP? And so on and so forth. And another criteria that is important to us is understanding which is the level of development of your idea or business, in the sense that we want to understand if it's just a concept, if you are already a business running with a market that has proofs, and so on and so forth. So we are dimensioning both your ability to develop and the relevancy of your idea. The selection committee will value these two main points. In the traditional economics textbook, they say the unique selling proposition, and the marketability and relevancy on the upcoming fashion tech market.
Thank you very much for your answer. So we can go through the questions in the chat that we have, or if someone is raising the hand to ask the question. So in the chat, we have a lot of people concerned about the current situation, how it will affect their situation, their companies, their operation. I also see that in the Q&A, I have comment from Basia, and I will read it. If I am a student who finished undergraduate studies and in relation to her collection would like to release product that will be promoted by the diploma collection, is it a good business idea in the coming months, or is it better to wait a year or two because of more difficult customer acquisition? So would like to answer that question. Maybe Chiara, as you're also working at the university.
It's a tough question in the sense that if we look at what the fashion brands are doing, we have both the situation. There are brands that are keeping their existing collection in the stores and not delivering the new one already, and others are keeping up with traditional let's say timing, more traditional timing. So again, the seasonality, it's still something that they look for. The point of being able to build up a market is the key. So beyond the date of the graduation, I would take care of that first.
And there is another question from Aga. What about PR? Is it the first cost that we cut, or crisis is the best time to modify the strategy and distinguish oneself with interesting tech, e-commerce solutions, but also adapt PR actions? I would go to Tomasz Czarnecki for that question. You are great in that area.
So could you please repeat the question, because I didn't get the full part? Like, should we change our PR strategy, or?
So now this is the first cost that we are cutting, right? Okay. And should we use it? Should we change it somehow? Implement it with tech?
So, like I would say I wouldn't cut that cost at the very beginning. That's my first point and my first advice. Like, I would first look if you have a positive ROI on your PR, and if you do, then I would double down on that instead of cutting it. Because when everyone is cutting and you have a positive ROI on your PR, I would just push it harder to gain more market share in the short term. So this is what I would do. If you're having a negative ROI on your PR and it's just PR and it's more value creation within the long term, then yeah, I'd rather look for something that would help and then cut the cost in the short term. And perhaps like a combination with some tech, but I just can't think about anything right now.
Maybe Chiara.
Well, I do agree that PR as an event per se wasn't that meaningful anymore, in the sense that the industry, any industry is so crowded. For example, in Milano, we have events like the furniture fair, where it is for someone even not meaningful anymore to be there because it's impossible to have visibility. Though the PR as a way to get in touch with your community, it's an important activity. And again, I do see that the referral model, which is not the influencer model, which it will be very, very interesting to see how it will become the influencer marketing after this emergency. The referral system, I think it's very much important. So the idea that PR actions are content developer actions and allow you to have a more meaningful relationship with your community, I think it's something that we should invest in. And so the digital channels help in personalizing more this kind of communications.
Thank you. There is a question to Miss Zana. Can you please go through a bit deeper through 5G tactile internet? Can we expect that to be a solution for our B2B business or Windows textiles? I mean the products like curtains, shirts.
That's an interesting question. We can say a little bit more about tactile internet. So, and to start, we need to understand there are three parts in this. It's sensing, it's processing, and actuation. So we are taking the part of sensing and processing because, for example, if you one company who is producing haptic devices, we are talking with research group, which obviously have, it's very interesting. They have some patch you put here on the hand, and then they work on your nerve system. And basically your hand doesn't do anything, but you feel things, you feel sensations, and the way kind of they can adjust the weight or whatever. So basically, how do you input the information about fabrics into that type of technology? So that's the first things when we will talk about textile digitization. So basically, this is what we are doing, sensing and processing. And now solution that we have now, which we are developing the Fabric Scout, which can answer this question. It's a bit different story. It's not that everybody, because when we say we are dealing with touch and feel of textiles online, everybody imagine that we are producing some haptic devices that you can wear some glove and you can feel it. That's not what we're doing. We now on the first stage when we are creating something similar to Pantone idea of communication of the color. So when you have some textile at your side and you are looking with physical properties similar to that, draping, shaping, elasticity, or touch, you just scan it, and then from hundreds in online database, it will find you exactly the most similar. And then you can choose by color or by some other properties already adjusting, filtrating kind of all the textiles. That's the first step we are taking, but we are hidden into tactile internet.
Sana, this will be a question from me. Since you're developing an interesting technology, I would like to ask a very early question. That would be a very early question. What's your exit strategy? What do you want to do with that?
Oh, that's secret. That's a secret.
Okay. Guys, dear attendees, if you have any questions, you can raise your hand and ask that question live. Oh, there is one hand allowed to talk. Hello, Olga.
Hello. First of all, thank you so much for this webinar. It's really great to listen to you guys. And I've got the question for Jana as well. So you just told really interesting thought that this is the good moment for the head seekers, right? So I'm just interested, can you just say more about that? And you also said that you're looking for some people, right? So can you say like which people on what you're paying your attention on? And just to say more about this.
The first part I didn't get because of the internet connection, but with about people, yeah, basically we are looking for different type of people because we are going to expand the team from people who work with textiles and in fashion industry. So basically because we need knowledge on tactile perception and understanding how designers think and put this more to work with our technical people. And then also we are looking for developers, data scientists. So basically, that's the main technical people, mostly in computer science, and then people who deal with textiles and they know what textiles are, like really love it. There is no particular interest in education or whatever, because I know my team, the people who maybe didn't work in great companies or whatever, but they do much better than those people who have good backgrounds, you know. It's all about passion. It's all about if you understand it. And also another announcement, I'm looking for co-founder and partner. Also,
okay, and how do you search for them? I mean, you know what I mean? Maybe you like use the internet
network.
Okay.
Referrals network. That's the best thing.
Okay, I was just curious, where do people find people in this area?
Just write in our case, just write to our email and attach your CV or your interest, and that's pretty enough for us to understand.
Okay, thank you for answering.
Thank you, Olga, for asking question. I will just mute you. If there's any other question, feel free to ask right now. If there is no other question, I would like to thank everyone, starting from panelists. I could not imagine better people and better discussion. So I am very glad you joined. Thank you, DeFINE, for partnering, and thank you, Katarzyna, for great cooperation for the last few weeks. And thanks to all participants, attendees who came and decided to get inspired during this evening. So that would be all from me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was
Take
a
care.
pleasure.